if there was something that you thought you were like uniquely good at from a poker strategic context, well, what would you think that that is? Or is there a thing that comes to mind for that?
You mean technically?
Sure. Or you can, yeah, we can say non-technically also, but
Okay. Hmm. It's interesting. I like my A game a lot. I'll say I've had to work hard to, it's a funny thing to focus on, but like I've had to focus on improving my C game, and I've done that a number of ways that I've found quite helpful, like being very tired at night and waking up and going and hitting the trainer. Like I was going through this week where I was just like, okay, I need to stop training when I feel my best because that's not how I play. You're not always feeling your best. And so I started like working on things when I was most fatigued. I'm most fatigued. I want to go to bed, and I'm like, okay, no, I have to go put in an hour. And I know I'm not going to be quite as good, but like working on that C game to try to like improve that has been a big focus because I think that I would take a lot of other players' C games versus mine a year ago or 2 years ago. But I really like my A game. I think that when I'm really focused, um, I get to this level of competitiveness and focus that I just do really trust myself, and I trust myself to make really good decisions in big moments, and that's where I think my one of my biggest strengths is. And then on the technical side, I think that I don't want to be too negative, but there's been a crew of not crew of people, but like a thing that's happened with this like public data. Like public data became available, and you didn't have to like work for it anymore, right? Like you could just look up a spot, and the answer was there. And I think that through that process, people have really lost the technical foundations that I feel I'm very happy I have. If you read these like old game theory books, I mean, I have a Will Tipton book right here next to me that I'm still just kind of looking over and finding new things that I like deep in the fundamentals of poker, rather than like because I think that what happened with these databases is you have this database, and it changed the skill set, because the skill set for a long time when you would study is I can see a situation at the table, I can think back to what I studied, and I can execute in game. And now that we have all this solvers and data, we actually just have a bunch of data analysts that aren't poker players. They are able to look at a chart and describe to you why the chart is doing what it's doing. And that's a way different skill set than looking at a situation and building a chart, right? And so I think that my biggest strength is looking at a situation and building a chart when it comes to like technical side of the game. I'm happy to look at the data and explain what's going on in the sim and why the pairs are playing a certain way, or why we want certain suits, or the deeper, weedier things. But like where I feel a big strength and a focus should be for most people is looking at a situation, starting with your frequencies, and then building a strong range. And if you do that over and over and over, technically speaking, you're going to just build robust strategies over and over and over, and you're going to be very tough to play against, and difficult to kind of get, you know.
yeah. Do you find that it's interesting because I resonate with so much of what you're saying, and it's a lot of how I try to approach the game. But one thing that I've noticed, at least in our language, that's a bit different is I put less emphasis on building strong ranges than I do just playing spots well, if that makes sense. Like I have these two cards, right? I don't have a range in this spot. And obviously ranges, how you play your hands in the aggregate will matter only to the degree that which people are aware of it. And, one of the things that I say, like I've coached people, for example, who've moved from more difficult pools to less difficult pools, and really, less difficult, and really struggle to adjust. And what I've said is, if that's true, you weren't playing poker before. Like you were executing just a memorized strategy. Because if you're playing poker, in my opinion, you should just be looking at the environment, doing your best estimation of what your opponent's doing in the spot, and then strategizing about that. And if I change the inputs, you should just get different answers. That's like poker playing, right? But to me, it seems less relevant, and honestly less and less relevant the stronger I feel like I'm becoming as a player, what I think my range is doing at all. Like it matters what my opponent believes my range is doing, like how my opponent perceives my range. But what I'm actually doing is honestly a mystery to both of us. We have no idea what I'm actually doing in this spot.
So where I'll push back on that a little bit, because I do agree with a lot of that, but where I'll push back is that, like, to me the game never came that intuitive, right? And so like let's just say there's a spot where my opponent should play big bets, okay, and they small bet, and I'm like, okay, well this guy's just playing his whole range for a small size. It's not actually that intuitive to me on the 9-6-3 rainbow where I expect to see this like big bet and they just bet range small. Without studying and focusing on ranges, it's not that intuitive to me for how to combat that. You know, like it's not that clear to me to be like, okay, I have top pair and he's not putting enough money in, but is that good for me or bad for me? Or like, how do I approach that with his top pair hand? It's like, I know his range wants to put more money in the pot, but do I benefit by check raising more and putting more money again against his overcard that will continue? Or do I benefit by saying, okay, he has the nut advantage here and he's not putting enough money in, so I just get to call and lose less, right?
All right. Thank you guys so much for watching. The full episode with Jason will release this Wednesday, April 9th at 1 p.m. Eastern time. So stay tuned and please like and subscribe.